far back from the baseline? Well, I would say for most players, the kind of almost default distance needs to be about maybe 3 to 4 feet. If you can't visualize that, depending on where you are in the world, it'd be about a meter, just beyond a meter, or a bit like just longer than a racket's length, a bit like a racket and the handle again. So roughly about 3 to 4 feet. But let's look at the options for being closer to the baseline. Let's look at the options for being closer to the baseline and further away. Well, closer is generally seen as a more aggressive position, and it does let you become more aggressive. Playing further back can certainly help when you're actually trying to be a little bit more defensive, or you're being forced to be defensive. But let's look at those in a bit more detail. If your opponent's hitting the ball short, there's no point you being a long way back, because you're just going to spend all your time running forwards to try and pick up the ball. So you're only going to end up running even further forwards and having to get there even quicker if you're too far back. The second thing to think about is if you actually can hit the ball on the rise before the ball reaches the top of the bounce and maybe even falls on the other side, then standing up in the court is going to actually help you achieve this. So generally someone like a Roger Federer, you have a look at where he stands, and he tends to stand much further up the court for these reasons. He tends to stand up because he can take the ball on the rise. It also gives you a lot more angles. You can actually hit more angles because you are a little bit closer to the net, so hitting shorter angles becomes a real possibility. And again, that is an offensive tactic that you might want to exploit by standing up. But if you can't do that, let's have a look at what happens if you want to stand further back. Now, playing further back will obviously make a little bit more sense if you're playing an opponent that kicks the ball up very high, or maybe the court surface is a very high bouncing one. Maybe you're playing on clay, or you're playing an opponent that hits with a lot of heavy topspin, so the ball is really bouncing up high, which will make it difficult for you to actually hit the ball with any effectiveness and with any purpose. So if you're playing an opponent that actually kicks the ball up high, or maybe you're just not very good at taking the ball on the rise, and not everybody is,